Donald Trump just held yet another disastrous press conference at the G7. His behavior today, worse than ever, odder than ever. He professed his love to the leader of Egypt. He talked about how they fell in love at a hotel, and then he stayed at the hotel with the leader of Egypt longer than anybody expected. Then Donald Trump met with Prime Minister Modi of India and also said, that I love you and you look like such a handsome, nice looking man, but you're actually a really good negotiator. Then Donald Trump said in a press conference, the stock market is the smartest thing out there, smarter than Rubio, smarter than anybody in his cabinet. Trump said, I can't be Herbert Hoover. I can't do that to the stock market. So my focus right now is on the stock market. Donald Trump also said that the leadership in Iran is occupied now by a bunch of great people who certainly deserve to keep all of their ballistic missiles. And Trump says, of course they should keep their ballistic missiles. Why would we try to have them get rid of those? And then Donald Trump also said, though, that this memorandum of understanding is not really a deal. And he goes, and if I don't like the way it goes in 60 days, I could just go back to bombing them. I want to show you what went down every step of the way here. So here Donald Trump was at the working session and he couldn't even figure out how to use his chair. And you'll see he doesn't know how to lift the chair up, and he was struggling to just even sit. And so they had to move a new chair versus just touch.
I want to thank you for watching Wake Up America. Every video we create takes research, time, and effort because our goal is simple: to bring you clear, informative, and meaningful stories without the noise. If you value independent reporting, please support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. It only takes a second, but it helps us continue doing this work and reaching more Americans with the truth. Alright, before we get to the news, and there is a lot of news, the kind of news that's going to make Donald Trump's own party turn on him. We'll get there. I want to start with a man who has turned getting under Trump's skin into an art form, Jimmy Kimmel. Because here's a little secret Kimmel said out loud once. He said one of the most fun parts of his whole job is knowing that Donald Trump hates being made fun of, and then making fun of him anyway. That's the mission statement. And for years now, night after night, he's been doing exactly that. But recently, he didn't just go after Trump. He went after the whole family. He went after Don Jr. And he did it in a way that the internet is still laughing about. So let me set the scene. Memorial Day weekend this year, Don Jr., the eldest son, the one who never stops posting, gets married. Down in the Bahamas, private island, to a Palm Beach socialite named Bettina Anderson. Small ceremony, about 40 people. And here's the detail that tells you everything. His own father didn't show up. The sitting president of the United States skipped his own son's wedding. Trump put out a statement on Truth Social, all flowery, saying how much he wanted to be there, but circumstances pertaining to government and his love for the United States of America wouldn't allow it. He loves his son. He just loves the country more. So Kimmel gets on the air and he just takes him apart. He reads that whole RSVP out loud, dripping with sarcasm, and he calls Don Jr. And this is the line that stuck. He calls him the prodigal son. The prodigal son. And then he twists the knife on Trump's excuse, joking that maybe the real reason Daddy didn't fly to a private island was because it reminds him too much of his old friend Jeffrey Epstein, on network television, about a sitting president. But that wasn't even the part that broke the internet. A couple weeks later, Don Jr. and his new bride post one of those gushy honeymoon videos. The kind, as Kimmel pointed out, that regular people post all the time. But maybe a sitting president's son walking on the beach is a first. So Kimmel plays the clip, slow romantic music over it, the happy couple leans in for a kiss, and Kimmel turns to the camera, covers his mouth, and pretends to throw up fake vomit shooting straight onto his poor sidekick Guillermo. Twice.
Handle on the bottom of the chair and lift it up. Watch for yourself what took place here. Let's play it.
You know what? This is the UN.
Oh, is that it?
I'm kidding.
Remember, that's funny. Oh, that's much better. It's so funny.
Oh, that's much better.
Thank you, Mark. I'll remember that.
And then similarly, when Donald Trump was with Sisi, the leader of Egypt, Donald Trump also really struggled to sit into the chair and to sit down. Now, why am I showing this to you? Because he really can't accomplish the most basic of functions right now on the world stage, yet alone actually be involved in policy and coherent speeches. I'm going to show you what he said in a second, but just watch this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then Donald Trump told the Egyptian president al-Sisi that, remember when we met in the hotel and we fell in love? We were deeply in love with each other, and I stayed in your hotel room more than anybody thought. I'm not exaggerating what he's saying here, just so you can hear for yourself. Let's play this clip.
From day one, I met him early in the campaign when Crooked Hillary and I were running against each other, right? And I was told that the president of Egypt is here. That was a big deal. It's still a big deal for me to be with the great president of Egypt, but not as big as it used to be before I ran. So he was in a hotel, and I met him, and we fell in love, deeply in love. And he didn't even want to see Hillary. He said, "You're going to win. I don't want to meet her." He said, "You're going to win." He didn't want to see her. Remember that? So we had a good relationship right from the beginning. No, we met. We didn't know each other before that. We had great chemistry, and I stayed twice as long as I was supposed to, took up her time. And then when it was her time, he didn't want to meet with her. But he did because he's a gentleman, but it lasted
For the joke. That's the destroyed Don Jr. On live TV, everybody's been clipping. And look, I'll be straight with you, because this channel doesn't deal in fake. That's comedy, that's a roast. Nobody got cross-examined, nobody got exposed under oath. But here's why it matters. Here's why it's more than just a vomit gag. Every single one of those jokes lands on a real nerve. The wedding Trump skipped, real. The Epstein connection he keeps trying to bury, real. The endless cringe of this family treating the presidency like a reality show, real. Kimmel's just the guy holding up the mirror, and Trump cannot stand it. How much can he not stand it? Well, that's where this story stops being funny and starts being something you actually need to pay attention to. Because Donald Trump didn't just fire off an angry tweet about Jimmy Kimmel, he tried to get him erased. And what happened next tells you everything about the moment we're living in, and it sets up the breaking news perfectly. So stay with me. The broader war. Kimmel versus Trump. Let's back up, because this feud is old and it is deep. This goes all the way back to 2015, Trump's first run for president. He had a scheduled appearance on Kimmel's show and he bailed, cancelled, cited some prior obligation, and it's been needling back and forth ever since. During Trump's first term, he actually tried to get Kimmel censored, leaning on Disney to rein him in. So this idea of Trump trying to use power to shut Kimmel up, that's not new. Hold that thought, because it becomes the whole story in a minute. Then you've got the greatest hits.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for asking me, guys. Thank you for asking me.
And then Donald Trump met with Prime Minister Modi. Same thing, you're a beautiful looking man, you're so handsome, you look so nice and so good looking, but you're a good negotiator. Here, let's play this clip.
So you look at this man. I'll give you a lesson. He's the most beautiful looking man. He looks so nice. He's like an angel. But actually, he's as tough as he's a killer. I don't want to, he's a killer. He's as tough as they come. But he looks so good. So he gets you by surprise. But there's few people like this. People say, he's such a nice man. I said, no, he's very tough. He's a tough traitor.
Then while Donald Trump was ranting, he made some sound which, if you listen, it sounds like he was passing gas while he was giving this press conference. Let's play this clip.
We ended up with the original members, but then when the election was rigged, that's right.
He spent a lot of this press conference also trying to swat flies, and he would say, I almost got that sucker. I almost got that sucker. Here, play this clip.
Well, it's not that they could stop us if we didn't want them to, but it'd be nice that I went to get that little sucker. But I missed. I hate missing. But we spoke to all of them in many countries all over the world.
And then he also talked about men walking around with no legs. Men who are walking with no legs, and that 96.3% of the men walking with no legs were caused by Iran's former general Soleimani. Here, play this clip.
Young men, and in some cases women, mostly men, walking around without legs, without arms, with a face that's been blown to smithereens. It's Soleimani, 95%, 96.2 they say or something. 95%. That was Soleimani did it.
Then on to the press conference that Donald Trump had, where after professing his love for Prime Minister Modi of India, al-Sisi of Egypt, he then says the same thing about the Iranian leadership. These are incredible people. I like them. They love their country. They're strong. They're proud. They're tough men. Here, let's play this clip.
So we got free reign. They didn't have their leaders, but they have a new group of leaders that I think is, actually, I think they're smarter. I think they're very smart. I think they're far less radicalized, and I think they're really good. They love their country. You know, you talk about...
And then on the issue of ballistic missiles, Trump goes, I like these guys. Why should they not have ballistic missiles? Saudi Arabia has ballistic missiles, so give the Iranians ballistic missiles. Let's play this clip.
In the history of our country. So we'll be working on a parallel effort with the Gulf nations to address...
I'm not widely known for being a sentimental guy. Anyone who's seen me on social media knows I'm far more likely to crack a joke or get myself in trouble for posting some grossly inappropriate memes than I am to shed a tear. I know this because I've even gotten the call from that guy a couple times. You know, Don, you're getting a little aggressive on social media, Don. Relax. To say Charlie knew more about the Bible than me is an understatement, folks. It's like saying Donald Trump knows more about being president than Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris. No kidding.
The 2024 Oscars, Kimmel's hosting, and in the middle of the show, Trump can't help himself and posts some unhinged rant on Truth Social attacking him. So Kimmel just reads it out loud to a taped audience of millions live on the Academy Awards. He read the president's own meltdown back to him as the closing bit of the night and let the whole world laugh at it. That's elite level trolling. Use the man's own words as the punchline. And the Epstein material, Kimmel has made that a recurring theme because Trump keeps making it easy. On Trump's 80th birthday this year, June 14th, Kimmel posted a spoof of that alleged birthday card. You remember the card that the Wall Street Journal reported on, the one Democrats on the House Oversight Committee later released, the weird little note written as a back and forth between Donald and Jeffrey. Trump denies it's real. Kimmel parodied it anyway, swapped the artwork for a cartoon of Trump himself, and posted it as a happy birthday to the president. Just relentless. Now, I have to be fair here, and we're always fair on this channel, because being fair is what makes us credible. Not all of Kimmel's jokes have landed clean. Some of them have gotten him into real trouble, and some critics, not just MAGA, some serious people felt he crossed a line. Back in April, at a mock correspondence dinner bit, he made a joke about Melania having the glow of an expectant widow. And 2 days later, there was an actual attempted shooting near a correspondence event. So the timing was awful, and Trump and Melania came out swinging, demanding ABC fire him. Melania called the remark hateful, and you can have your own opinion on whether that joke was a bridge too far. I think reasonable people landed in different places on it. But here's what Kimmel pointed out, and it's a fair point. He said the irony was something else. Trump demands I get fired for a joke about his age. And then the very next day, Trump stands next to Melania at a White House event, brings up how his parents were married 63 years, looks at his wife and says, basically, we won't be matching that record, darling, making a joke about his own death. Kimmel's line was perfect. Only Donald Trump would demand I be fired for joking about his old age and then go make the exact same joke himself a day later. And just this week, June 15th, Kimmel was at it again. A UFC announcer had accidentally called Melania First Lady Ivanka during a broadcast around Trump's birthday. And Kimmel, knowing exactly what he was doing, played the clip and said, I guess somebody's birthday wish came true. Now that one, oof. That's Kimmel poking at all of Trump's weird, well-documented history of comments about his own daughter. It drew backlash, it was nasty, but you cannot deny. The man knows precisely which buttons to push. So that's the war. Years of it, Oscars, Epstein, the family, the birthday card, the wife, the son. Kimmel has made a career out of being the thorn Trump can't pull out. And a normal president would just grumble and move on. Donald Trump is not a normal president. And in September of 2025, he showed everybody exactly how far he was willing to go.
Non-nuclear issues such as the conventional ballistic missiles, which we'll be talking about, and support. I mean, they have to have some because other people have some. You got to have some. Somebody said you shouldn't give them one. And I have guys. I like some of these guys, but I don't think this. Sir, you shouldn't let them have any missile. I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. It doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't work that way. And missiles aren't the problem. Missiles they hurt a little location, but they don't blow up the planet. So the Gulf nations will address the non-nuclear issues.
And then he says, but let me tell you who's the most brilliant of all. It's the stock market, and that's what my focus is. Now, as Aaron Rupert says, take a look at Rubio's face when Donald Trump says, hey, Rubio, isn't the stock market smarter than you? Here, let's play this clip.
I know, as every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship. It never went down. They didn't like it. The people, you know, the stock market is more brilliant than anybody there is, including the people on the stage, other than me, of course. Let's see. I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Is the stock market more brilliant than you?
No, sir.
Oh, that's a terrible statement. All right. The stock market is quite brilliant.
And then Trump said, but I don't want to be the late, great Herbert Hoover, who was the president during the Great Depression. That's my biggest fear. Let's play this clip.
Amazing, like we're going to settle, it would go up. And every time we said something negative, like, guess what, we're not going to be able to settle, it would go down very big, Peter, right? Very, very big. Tells you something. And you know, I've studied presidents, some good, some bad, some great. Not too many are great. And some really bad. We had one just recently. And the one president I did not want to be was the late, great Herbert Hoover. I didn't want that. And who knows what would have happened. But bad things happen, so the past...
And then Donald Trump said, the deal reached with Iran on Sunday will be signed shortly. Tomorrow, maybe the next day, I make deals, maybe crazy deals. But that's me just doing crazy deals. Also, it should be noted, there was a weird report this morning from Trump's stenographer and propagandist over at Axe.
When they tried to silence him, here's the part that should make every single person watching this sit up straight, because this isn't a comedy story anymore. This is a free speech story, and it's the reason this channel exists. September 2025. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk had just been assassinated, a genuine tragedy, a young man murdered, and the whole country was reeling. And in his monologue, Kimmel went after how Trump and the MAGA world were responding to it, accusing them of trying to score political points, of scrambling to pin the shooter on the left. He took a shot at Trump's own demeanor, so the way Trump talked about losing someone he'd called a friend wasn't how an adult grieves. It was, in Kimmel's words, how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Now, was that monologue clumsy? A lot of people thought so. Even some who defended Kimmel said the wording was a mess. Fine. That's a debate worth having. That's what free speech is. Messy, uncomfortable, sometimes wrong. But watch what happened next, because this is the scary part. The chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, a Trump appointee named Brendan Carr, went on a podcast and went after Kimmel directly. And he said, and I want you to really hear this because a government official said this about a comedian. He said, companies can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way or the hard way. He floated that the FCC had avenues it could pursue. That's the government's top broadcast regulator publicly leaning on a network over a late-night host's jokes. And it worked. Within days, the big broadcast station owner's Nexstar, Sinclair, said they'd preempt Kimmel's show. And then Disney, his own parent company, pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air.
Indefinitely.
Just gone. A lot of America genuinely thought he'd been fired for good. And Donald Trump? He was thrilled. He called it great news for America. He went on his platform and gloated that Kimmel was next to go, that Fallon would be gone soon too. Bragging that he hoped he'd played a major part in getting them taken off the air. Think about that. The President of the United States openly celebrating that a comedian who mocked him got silenced and taking credit for it. That is not how it works in a free country. That is how it works in the other kind of country. But here's the beautiful part. America pushed back, hard. There were boycotts of Disney and ABC. Constitutional scholars sounded the alarm. Entertainment unions, actors, even some folks on the right who hated the joke but loved the First Amendment more. They all said this was a line you do not cross. Barack Obama himself put out a statement warning that the administration had reached a new and dangerous level, routinely threatening media companies unless they muzzle the voices it doesn't like. And the pressure got so loud that Disney caved the other way. They brought Kimmel back. 5 days later, he was on the air again, and he's since signed a contract extension.
Ravid that says they may be moving up the signing of the agreement to today, but didn't they already electronically sign it on the weekend? So they're going to re-sign it again today. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. They said, yeah, it may need a double signature in addition to a signing in Switzerland. None of this is making any sense, but play this clip.
So the deal we reached with Iran on Sunday will be signed shortly. Tomorrow, maybe the next day. Subject deals. My whole life is all about deals. That's all I ever did is make deals. And crazy things happen with deals. I've gone into deals where it's a guarantee. No way it can not be signed. And it doesn't get signed. And I've gone into deals that you have no chance of making, and they go like nothing. So, but we're going to most likely sign a deal. They want to sign a deal. And they've been acting very appropriately. They took a big 2 hits last week. Those were 2 very big hits. So
then Donald Trump is asked, so, is this a final agreement? And Trump goes, no, it's just a memorandum of understanding. We'll go back to shooting them soon if I just don't like it. Let's play this clip.
If they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay? Because they misbehaved for 47 years. All right? But nobody could have made this deal. I mean, the JCPOA done by Obama, he handed him $1.7 billion in cash, gave him hundreds of millions of dollars, gave him billions and billions of dollars, but he gave him $1.7 billion in cash, green cash from banks, into a Boeing 757 and flew it into Iran. And they stood at the plane. I have pictures of it, like, oh my, look at this money he's giving.
And then Trump says, the thing you need to know about the Iranians is Muhammad. Yeah, Muhammad. They have lots of Muhammads. So someone goes in 50-50, their name's gonna be Muhammad. And that's how you deal with the Iranians. That's how you do deals. You go, hey, Muhammad, right? And they may say no. You go, well, I got a 50-50 shot of calling you Muhammad. This is what Donald Trump is saying at the G7. Let's play this clip.
We have Space Force cameras on every single door, well, there are no doors, they've been pretty well shattered, but every area of that, if somebody walks in and he's got a badge with his name on it, like Mohammed something, which is about a 50-50 guess, Mohammed something, they can tell the name, they can give you a serial number, we can see things you wouldn't believe the quality of the stuff that we have. That's why we've been so successful. That's why our
And then Donald Trump again says, look, let's just let people invest in Iran. Why wouldn't we let them? This is an investment. We're talking money. We're talking about stock market. You want to invest in Iran? Do your investments. I don't see the big deal. Let's play this clip.
And unlike Barack Hussein Obama, who sent Iran pallets of cash, and any relief they receive under this deal, they'll have to get based on merit. And it won't be from us. We don't have to give them anything. But some people may want to invest. Like, what are you going to do? Say you can never, ever invest in a country? I mean, it's pretty tough. I don't mind being tough, but it's pretty crazy. You can invest in a country. You can invest in any country you want, but you can't invest there.
Going back to Donald Trump with Prime Minister Modi, he was very touchy-feely with him, holding his hand.
Why am I telling you this whole long story? Why does a fight over a late-night comedian matter? Because it is the single clearest example of what this administration does when it doesn't like what it's hearing. It reaches for the lever, the license, the regulator, the threat, the easy way, or the hard way. And if they'll do that to Jimmy Kimmel, a guy with Disney's billions and an army of lawyers behind him, what do you think they'd like to do to the small voices, the independent ones, the channels that don't have a corporate parent to hide behind? That's not a hypothetical for me. That's the air we breathe. And it's exactly why what I'm about to tell you next, the actual news, the stuff that broke in the last day, matters so much. Because a lot of the big, license-holding, government-pressured corporate outlets are about to tell you a very clean, very flattering story about what Donald Trump just did on the world stage. And it's not the real one. Here's the real one, the main story. The news. In the last 24 hours, Donald Trump put his signature on the biggest foreign policy gamble of his presidency. And the way it actually went down is wild. You'll remember the war. The United States and Israel attacked Iran back on February 28th, and it's been 3+ months of hell caskets coming home, the Strait of Hormuz choked off, gas and grocery prices climbing all spring. Well, it's finally ending, sort of, and the sort of is the whole story. Here's how Trump signed it. Not in a situation room, not at a summit table. According to AFP and Axios, and confirmed by a US official, Trump personally signed the deal with Iran during a dinner with Macron at the Palace of Versailles after the G7 wrapped up. CBS News reports Trump and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian both signed the Memorandum of Understanding after Vice President Vance had digitally signed it days earlier. And a White House official told CBS the agreement is now, quote, in effect. So, what's in it? It's a 60-day ceasefire. Per the Pakistani Prime Minister who helped broker the thing, Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz instantly, and the US lifts its naval blockade immediately. There's a 14-point memo, and it includes language that Iran shall not develop nuclear weapons. And there's supposed to be a formal ceremony in Switzerland on Friday, although Iran is now signaling that Friday meeting might not even happen. Already it's wobbling. Now, sounds like peace, right? Sounds like a win. And the markets liked the idea of it earlier in the week. Oil came down. So why am I not throwing a parade? 3 reasons, and they're big ones. Reason 1, Trump himself is already telling you it might fall apart. In the same breath as signing it, he said the memorandum is not final, and he threatened that if the talks fail, the US goes. His words, back to dropping bombs. So this isn't peace. This is a 60-day timeout with a gun on the table. He signed a ceasefire and threatened to restart the war in the same press availability. Reason 2, and this is the one that should stop you cold. The entire reason given for this war for 3 months of death was stopping Iran from becoming a military threat. So what does Trump say at the G7? He gets asked about Iran's ballistic missiles, the things that can actually deliver a warhead, and he signals he wouldn't really mind if Iran keeps them. Let that sink in. You go to war over a country's weapons capability, thousands of people die, and then you shrug about the missiles.
Legs. Let's play this clip.
India can do anything they want with us. We have the best relationship. We cannot be closer than we are. Would you say that, sir? I don't think we can be any closer. Both him and I and our nations, but it really starts with the two of us. We cannot be closer.
Then Donald Trump started attacking former President Obama at the G7, and he said that Iran laughed at Obama and said he was a stupid son of a bitch. How embarrassing for the President of the United States to be behaving like this on the world stage. Let me show you what he said. Let's play it.
Of it, like, oh my, look at this money he's giving us. He tried to bribe his way out. I didn't do that. Nobody mentions that. 1.7 billion and hundreds of millions of dollars. They tried to bribe their way out of it. And you know what the Iranians did? They laughed at Obama and they said he's a stupid son of a bitch. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
And then he was asked the following question by Ducey over at Fox. A wise man once said in January 2020, Iran never won a war, but never lost a negotiation. And as Ducey was going to finish asking the question, Trump said, who said that? You, that was your line. You said that. And also, if you're saying right now that the Iranians were saying that about Obama, which they weren't, what do you think they're saying about you? Here, play this clip of that Ducey exchange.
I did just want to ask you about this. A wise man once said in January of 2020, Iran never won a war, but never lost a negotiation. That wise man.
Who said that?
Donald Trump.
Oh, that's what I thought you were going to say.
So how do you go back to the United States and convince a skeptical American public that this deal is a win?
Here they lost militarily, okay? It's very tough because I know that no matter what, if I would go, by the way, if I'd go another 3 or 4 weeks, those same people that are critical would say, he went too long, he should have done,
And then Trump, though, at a very serious level, has asked important questions like, who is more responsible for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, Russia or Ukraine? Trump goes, I can't comment on that. Let's play this clip.
And at this point, do you feel that Vladimir Putin is more responsible for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine?
Well, I don't want to comment on that because I'm trying to get it settled, and that doesn't make it easy.
And that on Iran, Trump is committing the cardinal sin from his own book, From the Art of the Deal, his own playbook. He looked too desperate for the deal, and he gave away his leverage. And reason 3, the people calling this a bad deal are not just us. They're everywhere on the spectrum. Congressman and retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman went on CNN and flat out called it a terrible deal. From the pro-Israel side, the Times of Israel ran an op-ed calling it a catastrophic capitulation that leaves Israel exposed. And speaking of Israel, Trump's relationship with Netanyahu is visibly fraying. Trump's public comment about his closest ally, he said Netanyahu gets a little excited sometimes. That's how he's talking about Israel now. Meanwhile, the fighting hasn't even fully stopped. An Israeli reserve soldier was just killed and 7 others wounded by a Hezbollah explosive in southern Lebanon after this grand ceasefire was signed. So put it together, the deal might not be final. The thing the war was supposedly about, unresolved, with Trump going soft on the missiles. His critics on the left, on the right, and among the hawks all think he got played. His top ally is annoyed with him, and the fire, as the saying goes, has not actually ceased. Oh, and here's a detail that says everything about the cost of this adventure. CNN reports that Trump just had to invoke a special law to increase weapons production because the war with Iran drained US stockpiles. Read that again. The war was so intense it emptied America's arsenal, and now we're scrambling to refill it. That's the bill coming due. And it's coming due at the same time the markets got nervous. The S&P 500, the Dow, and the Nasdaq all dropped this week after the Federal Reserve signaled that nearly half its policymakers see an interest rate hike coming in 2026. So much for the clean economic victory lap. And I want to give a real shout out here because we lean on his coverage a lot on this channel, and that's Ben Miselas over at Midas Tut.
Easy.
And then Trump says, when it comes to the deal, though, I did with Iran, it's very strong, but nobody knows what's in it. Bingo. Let's play this clip.
And you can't give Iran a nuclear weapon. And they will never have a nuclear weapon. So that's very, very strong. It's a very strong deal. Nobody knows what it is, but it's very strong. And most people seem to be very happy. Who's really happy is the market.
And then he goes back to it's a memorandum of understanding, and then no one knows that it's not really binding, even though it is. Let's play this clip.
And it's a memorandum of understanding. If it doesn't get done in 60 days, that's all right. We go back to bombing. You know, I don't want to do that because it's so good. But we might have to because we're never going to let them have a nuclear weapon. But they've agreed not to, and you'll see that very clearly in the agreement.
Then Modi chuckles after Donald Trump starts talking about genital mutilization. And Modi's like, dude, what am I even watching? Let's play this clip.
No men playing in women's sports, so we want no transgender mutilization of our children. None. Those are 5 things that are 99% that's all we want.
And just so you know, while this was all going on, J.D. Vance was on CBS this morning, and he told Norah O'Donnell that he doesn't really know why you can't talk about the deal or like why you can't release the terms, because I don't really know why. It's some diplomatic thing with Qatar and Pakistan. I don't understand it. And I'll just say this. Could you imagine if former Vice President Kamala Harris went on TV and discussing a major document was asked, like, why can't the public see it? And Kamala Harris was like, I don't know, this is beyond my expertise. Dude, you're the Vice President of the United States of America. You're not, no offense to me, you're not a podcaster on YouTube. Well, why do I know more about it than you do? You're the Vice President. Let's play this clip.
Potential deal with Tehran. The president says he wants to put this war in the rearview mirror, and yet this framework remains silent. Why not allow the world to see whatever this deal is that you signed?
Yeah, so there are some, frankly, diplomatic protocols that I don't fully understand. The Qataris and the Pakistanis who have been helpful in mediating this agreement with the Iranians, they've asked us not to release the full text for a little while. That it'll come out at the latest on Friday. We're actually trying to push them to get it out today because we want to tell the American people what's in this deal.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think.
Back in 2020 by 3 brothers from Long Island, Ben, Brett, and Jordan Miselas, just sitting in lockdown with a camera and an idea. And they built it, with no corporate parent, no network suits, into one of the biggest independent news operations in the entire country. Millions of subscribers, billions of views, completely outside the machine. And think about everything I just told you about the Kimmel suspension, the FCC, the license threats, the easy way or the hard way. That's the machine Midas Touch doesn't answer to. Nobody can pull their broadcast license because they don't have one. That's the power of independent media. And Ben specifically, the thing I respect most is that he's a trained attorney, and it shows in how he works. He's been live almost every single day through this entire Iran war, breaking each development down piece by piece, like he's building a case for a jury. He doesn't just read you the press release the way the compromised networks do, he asks the next question. He was pressing hard on the official story of that downed F-15 pilot rescue when everybody else just moved on. You don't have to agree with every take. That's the whole point of independent media. You're allowed to think for yourself, but the man does the work, relentlessly, and he does it without a corporate boss deciding what he's allowed to say. So here's what I want from you in the comments. If you respect Ben's journalism, if Mirasach has taught you something, if you value voices that can't be silenced by an FCC chairman, drop a comment and tell us one thing you appreciate about Ben's work, just one. We read every one of them. And in a media world where the government is out here threatening licenses, lifting each other up is how the independents survive. Because here's the thing I keep coming back to. The same administration that celebrated a comedian getting yanked off the air, that's the administration now asking you to take its word that this Iran deal is a beautiful, total victory. And a lot of big outlets, the ones with licenses to protect, the ones who've watched what happened to Kimmel and to Colbert, are going to be very, very careful about how hard they push back. Some of them already settled lawsuits with this president. Some of them are sitting under FCC reviews right now. So who's going to tell you the unvarnished version? The version where the deal's not final, the missiles are still on the table, the allies are furious, the arsenal's empty, and the man signed it over dessert at Versailles and threatened to restart the war in the same breath?
Donald Trump is panicking as Iran is taking a victory lap following the official signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, despite Donald Trump and the Trump regime saying that the MOU was signed over the weekend. Apparently that signature was non-binding, so Donald Trump went to Versailles where he officially signed the Memorandum of Understanding on behalf of the United States. On the other hand, you had President Pezeshkian of Iran sign on behalf of Iran. Now Iran's foreign ministry and Iran's lead negotiator MB Ghalibaf are celebrating publicly, declaring this as a major victory. MB Ghalibaf, the lead negotiator for Iran, is saying, had we not entered this deal, we were prepared to continue fighting and we believe we would have won, but we've achieved hundreds of times more what we could have won in war in this Memorandum of Understanding. And when you read the terms, as well as how Iran, with advisement from Oman, now controls the Strait of Hormuz, and starting 60 days per paragraph 5 of the MOU into this Memorandum of Understanding coming into effect, which is the effective date today, Iran and Oman will be charging tolls, and that's built into this Memorandum of Understanding. Let me show you the celebration that's taking place in Iran, and let me contrast it, of course, to what's going on in the United States. I mean, you've obviously seen that horrific and disturbing press conference that Donald Trump had at the G7 and on the tarmac in France. We brought you that. But earlier in the day, you had Donald Trump's communication director, Stephen Chung, attacking CNN when CNN posted verbatim the Memorandum of Understanding. Elena Treen posted the MOU, to which Stephen Chung said the following: the supposed text of the MOU that was obtained by CNN does not reflect the language of the actual MOU. And this just goes to show you the Trump regime lies about literally everything. It was verbatim what the MOU said. And when we said what the MOU said, it's verbatim what went down. So, moments ago, Donald Trump personally signed a copy of the agreement during his visit to Versailles. I mean, if that's not the symbolism, I don't know what else is. He's in like a golden palace while the American people are suffering, while he signs terms of surrender after losing a war that he and Netanyahu should never have got involved in at all. Then you have Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson sending out the following message. Right now, as I'm speaking with you, the text of the Islamabad Memorandum has probably reached the presidents of Iran and the United States for signature. It has been agreed that the Iran-U.S. memorandum will be signed digitally. Once the memorandum reaches the presidents of both countries for signature, any violation of it will carry a higher cost. Up to this moment, there had been plans for the negotiating teams to attend in Geneva or Brussels, but the signing of the memorandum will be done digitally, and no signing ceremony will be held in Switzerland. That was from Tasnim, Iran's media agency. Then Iran's MB Ghalibaf said the following, gave an interview, victory lap, celebrations taking place in Iran. God seems to have created Iran's enemies from among the foolish. Their actions have turned Iran's potential capacity in the Strait of Hormuz into an actualized one. Iran has sovereign rights in the Strait of Hormuz, and naturally, we will charge fees in return for the services we provide. Notice his
fights with Vanilla Ice. He was too busy for his son's wedding. But he did say Don and Bettina are going to have a great marriage, and this is a man who knows a great marriage. He's had 3 of them himself. Poor Don Jr. Without his father, they had to scramble to find somebody else to make a 90-minute toast about windmills and transgender weightlifters. It's sad, but the truth is Donald Trump, he just isn't a guy who likes to go to oh, never mind. Don Jr. and Bettina are reportedly still planning to celebrate their marriage at the White House, and the president and first lady are expected to attend that event. Well, you'd hope so. They live there. Can you imagine if they didn't show up to that one too? We wanted to make it, but we were unable to go downstairs. Moving the wedding from the White House was probably a good idea, and not just because of the war Trump is still stuck in like a pig in a vat of chocolate pudding. They're also doing construction on the arena for the big UFC fight scheduled for Trump's big 80th birthday party next month. You can see, there's talk they might have to tear down that big White House that's blocking the view from the other side. And all of a sudden, the White House looks like the next stop on the Warp Tour. We are on week 13 now of Trump's little excursion in the Middle East. Trump has been all over the map on this. On Saturday, he said a deal with the Iranians had been largely negotiated and was nearly finalized.
That's
on
the
Sunday.
job. And real quick, 2 more things from the last day, because the chaos never stops with this crew. 1, a guy named Jackson Lohmeyer, a founder of Pastors for Trump, just dropped out of his Oklahoma congressional race after Trump yanked his endorsement following a texting scandal. The Values Coalition, ladies and gentlemen. And 2, keep your eyes peeled, because the Supreme Court is about to hand down rulings in the next 2 weeks on some massive Trump cases, including his attempt to end birthright citizenship and his attempt to fire a member of the Federal Reserve Board. So the fight over how much power this man gets to grab is heading for the highest court in the land, and we are going to be all over it, bringing it home. So let's bring it all the way back around. Back to Jimmy Kimmel, because the through line here isn't really about jokes, it's about a simple question. What does Donald Trump do when somebody tells a truth he doesn't like? We know the answer now, we watched it. When a comedian mocked him, he didn't laugh it off. He celebrated when they pulled the guy off the air and bragged that he helped. When his own son's cringe got roasted, he seethed. And when the entire world is watching him sign a shaky deal that his critics across the whole political spectrum are calling a capitulation, he's counting on the fact that a lot of the big, license-holding media is too nervous to say so plainly. Jimmy Kimmel survived because America stood up and refused to let a voice get silenced. Millions of people said no. You don't get to do that here. And that's the whole ballgame, folks. That's the entire fight we're in. The powerful want you quiet, distracted, and taking their word for it. And the only thing that ever stops them is regular people refusing to look away. That's what this channel is. Wake Up America is independent. We don't have a network. We don't have advertisers we're scared of. We don't have an FCC license somebody can dangle over our heads. The only people we answer to is you. And that makes us exactly the kind of voice they'd love to see disappear.
Language right there. That America was so foolish. Our adversaries are so dumb. Their actions turned a potential capacity into a real one. We now control the Strait of Hormuz. What a victory for us, he's saying. He goes on to say, the steadfastness of the Iranian people brought the world's most powerful armies to their knees. If there had been no negotiations, we would not have achieved our objectives. We gained through negotiations many times more than what we sought to achieve through military action, so much more that the two are not even comparable. We got so much more in the negotiations than what we could have got in war. I mean, because we still would have won the war, But we got so much more in this deal. The difference between the current negotiations and previous rounds is that today the knowledge and achievements of victory on the battlefield serve as the backing for diplomacy. In negotiations conducted as a form of struggle, there is neither surrender nor empty sloganeering. During the war, I posted on Twitter that the Strait of Hormuz would never return to its previous conditions, and that remains true today. However, this does not mean that we intend to act in the Strait of Hormuz contrary to international law or maritime regulations. Never. We will act within the framework of international law. Then, while that interview was taking place, Iranian TV were airing the F-5 jet pilots from Iran who hit a United States military base in Kuwait on March 1st. They flew in total radio silence, bypassed other targets. When the Kuwaiti army went to go after the F-5, they were mistaken and they hit the US F-15E, and that's when there was the friendly fire incident at the very beginning of the war. You remember that? That's what went down. Meanwhile, Ghalibaf goes on to say, once the ceasefire came into effect, you saw that the enemy carried out actions in the Persian Gulf, and we immediately responded. The latest example was the incident involving the American helicopter. In addition, 2 enemy warships that were attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz were struck and suffered extensive fires, a matter that satellite imagery also confirmed. On the other hand, any airport in any country from which enemy fighter jets took off was targeted. All of these events occurred while we were simultaneously engaged in negotiations, and Lebanon is part of the resistance front. Under the agreement, Iran supports the resistance front, while the United States is a supporter and ally of the Israeli regime. Therefore, it is natural that when a ceasefire is established, it must be respected on all fronts, especially in Lebanon. I must thank the dear people of Lebanon, particularly the Shiites and Hezbollah, who stood up during the U.S. and Israeli aggression against Iran and sacrificed nearly 4,000 martyrs. While we were under a ceasefire, they continued fighting and continued to suffer casualties. When the Israeli regime targeted Daya, we threatened the United States and issued an ultimatum that our demands had to be accepted. Otherwise, we would respond. Trump was compelled to post on social media and tell Netanyahu that the attacks had to stop and that Daya can no longer be targeted. Not only, by the way, though, did I not volunteer to join the negotiating team, Ghalibaf says, but I was actually reluctant to do so. Before accepting responsibility for the negotiations, I did everything I could to avoid having this responsibility assigned to me. One of the reasons I did not want to accept this responsibility was that Donald Trump was the planner, commander, and overseer of the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. General Soleimani was dear to the entire Islamic world, but he was certainly different for me on a personal level. Do you think it is easy?
Had over the last year, God bless those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. I love you all. No one puts the me in Memorial Day like Donald J. Trump. And I'll tell you something. I noticed that he's particularly excited about this new nickname, Democrats, which he thinks he came up with, even though it was on The Simpsons in 1994. He's been workshopping a whole new bit about it, and it goes a little something like this.
And I watched what he was saying and what the horrible things he was saying, and I said, he's a dumb guy. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. That's how I got the name. You take the E out, you don't use the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B in it, actually. You don't need it. You discard the B. But you take the E out and you replace it with a U. They're dumb. They are Democrats.
Could you run us through that
Exactly
one more
the kind
time?
that only survives if you help keep it alive. So here's the ask, and it matters more than you know. Hit that like button, it's free, it takes 1 second, and it's a direct punch at the algorithm that wants to bury independent voices. Subscribe and turn on the bell, so the next time something breaks, you get the real version first, not the nervous corporate one. And share this. Send it to one person. Your group chat, your cousin who only watches the big networks, your friend who thinks the war's over, so everything's fine. That one share is how we go around the machine. That's how Kimmel got his show back, people refusing to stay quiet. Same energy, same fight. We are funded by you, watched by you, and protected by you. Every like, every share, every subscribe is you doing the one thing the powerful can't stand, paying attention and refusing to shut up. And don't forget, drop that comment about Ben Meiselas and Midas Touch, one thing you appreciate about his work. Let's show the independents some love, because there's strength in numbers, and there are not enough of us out here telling it straight. This deal isn't done. There's a signing in Switzerland on Friday that might not even happen. There's 60 days of talks that could collapse back into bombs at any moment. There's an empty arsenal, a nervous market, an annoyed ally, and a Supreme Court about to decide how much more power this man gets. We are going to be watching every single step of it. Stay loud, stay awake, and never ever let them tell you it's fine when it isn't. This is Wake Up America. I'll see you in the next one.